The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome to today's webinar on social media in business development. I'm Mallory Price and will monitor today's session. Joining me are Nelson Altamirano, social media and marketing practitioner. He also facilitates college-level courses in business and social media. Mitch Pendleton, Director of Business Winning Services at Shipley. He's experienced in sales and marketing as practitioner. And Brad Douglas is also with us, President and CEO of Shipley Associates, also responsible for global marketing at Shipley. Also, we wanted to inform you that we have a live Twitter feed during this webinar, so feel free to chime in there and watch for webinar highlights. If you have any questions during the webinar, please type them into the questions tab in your control panel. Brad, the time is yours.
Okay, welcome everyone, and then thanks for joining with us. We obviously hit a nerve a little bit, I think, with this topic in putting this out there, social media and business development, because we've got an awful lot of interest, quite a few, actually a lot of questions that you all submitted as you registered, and those are the questions we're going to try to focus on. And thank you for, especially Nelson, for joining us as a true expert in this topic. He'll be giving us some good information, helping us answer some questions as we go forward. And Mitch, please, chime in as well, and we'll do the best we can to answer some of your questions and give you at least some information. This is also, I just want to put a caveat. This is a sensitive topic. Obviously, it's in the news a lot, and so we're being a little bit sensitive to how social media can play out in some negative ways as well, in society and in business. So we'll try to involve that or discuss that as well a little bit. But these are some of the expert sources we went to, as well as people. Fourth Gear is a local marketing company that has pretty significant reach. A lot of you have heard of Salesforce.com and Pardot. We're quite familiar with them because we use that as a platform ourselves. Marketo is another platform that we're quite familiar with that provides a lot of great information. If you want information and research and articles, Marketo is a good source for that. And then a company that's also helped us out, Fluid. So those, besides going to people experts, we went to a lot of research and data experts on this topic. I want you just to spend a minute here before we get started, read some of these recent headlines. And I'm sure you've seen these in the news. So as we read articles like this, studies like this, information like this, obviously this is a very, very hot topic in business and industry, regardless of the markets we're in. So what we want to cover in this webinar, we want to first clarify definitions, what we are and aren't going to discuss, why social media is important in business development, what are some of the benefits, what are some of the options. You had a lot of questions about that, options. Keys to success, are there certain metrics we should be looking at? Some do's and don'ts. Again, we got several questions about do's and don'ts of social media when it comes to business development. So we've integrated your questions into the slides and briefings, which you'll see pop up periodically during the webinar, and that's what we'll address. So Mitch, would you mind reading our definition of what we mean when we say social media for this webinar?
Sure, thanks Brad. It says social media is the collection of online communications channels dedicated to community-based input, interaction, content sharing, and collaboration.
Okay, content sharing, collaboration, interaction. That's a big deal on social media. And then, Mitch, business development, or a simple definition?
Sure. It just says it's the creation of long-term value for an organization from customers, markets, and relationships.
Okay. Pretty hard to define business development in a succinct way, but that is as succinct as we could get it. So it's helping our business create long-term value, whether that's revenue or contracts or market expansion or relationships. So that's the definition. Now, many of you who registered for this webinar are familiar with Shipley. You're familiar with the 7 phases of business development that we call a business development life cycle. These are the phases, 0 through 6, starting with market segmentation. Here's where social media comes into this as far as a business development life cycle. Right very early, when you're segmenting your market, you've got to be very active in social media to monitor trends, start identifying key players, key competitors in these markets, and do research. Social media is a great platform for doing research. Some people think of it as a lens. It's one more lens you can look for or look through as you're assessing markets. The phase 1, long-term positioning, we can start promoting client success stories, reaching out, making initial contacts. We can publish best practices, lessons learned. Phase 2 there, opportunity assessment. Here's where we can actually start investigating, maybe teaming partners, solicitation news from different customer websites or government agency websites. Phase 3, when we start into a capture mode where we're actually in pursuit of an opportunity, this is, again, where social media can be very, very effective. Are there dangers? Are there risks? Are there things to watch out for? Of course. But the benefits, if we do it right, far outweigh the risks that we might run across. Ultimately, and again, some of you familiar with Shipley are familiar with this little cycle here. Ultimately, what we're trying to do in business development with social media is, in many cases, advance from an unknown position in a market or with a customer all the way to where maybe we're in a favored position. Maybe social media has helped us really create credibility in the market because of the way we've been involved and active in social media. So in a nutshell, some of you had asked, what are we trying to accomplish? At a very high level, it really boils down to this, on an opportunity by opportunity basis, we're trying to go from where we're not very well known, perhaps, all the way to where we're actually favored to win a business opportunity, win a contract. So in speaking with a chief marketing officer of a large IT services firm that you would all recognize, we asked her to summarize what are some of the high-level benefits of social media, because that again is a question that keeps coming up. So these are some high-level benefits. We need to try to connect our business to our target market. That goes back to that phase 0 in the life cycle. Social media today is probably the best, most cost-effective way to boost our marketing return, our return on investment for marketing. And then ultimately, we're trying to increase or improve our brand, the value of our brand, and the awareness in key markets. And so this was a quote from this CMO. It's high time to seriously think about monetizing from social media through carving out digital strategies involving a clearer, more comprehensive social media plan. So regardless of the size of your companies, your organization, whether you're for-profit, not-for-profit, government, this notion of having a digital strategy for your company is critical. And we will spend some more time on that. And Nelson is going to give us some good direction on that. Nelson, would you mind going through these benefits of social media when it relates to business development?
Yes. So loyal. Right now, how you demonstrate you show your brand online is mainly through social media. We all have websites in our companies, but the use of social media really gets you connected with the end user and on the word of mouth. So the boost on brand awareness and loyalty, or the ability to stay connected with your users, is extremely important. That's number one. Validation of claims. It allows you, social media allows you to post stories, to tell stories. The use of video is very strong in this area nowadays. So you can make a story of what you have been doing for your customers. Of course, increase in visibility and potential opportunities is very clear. The use of social media allows you often, and this is why, I mean, for good or bad, stories that start on social media end up on the news. And so you have the opportunity to be very well exposed to the use of social media if you do it properly. And then they improve on search engine optimization. Keywords in today's world, anything that you post on social media and linking that you do through social media platforms and your corporate website creates strong search engine points for you. In fact, Google recently, a few years ago, announced that any connection with social media will boost your search engine ranking with them. Next, increase on conversion, the conversion rates or the wins from position and contract will allow you to track an interaction on social media all the way to finalizing, right, a contract. Today, there are several tools that you can use to track the whole movement from someone just seeing one of your ads or reading about you or clicking on a hashtag to making a full conversion or a sale or a contract. And lastly, satisfying your customers. There is a lot of people that want to learn more about our brands, and social media allows you to see brands at a more personal level. You can get validation of the thoughts and ideas that you had, not only from you, but from some of the people that are talking about you. So controlling that is very important. Those are all important benefits of social media for your development.
Thank you, thank you, Nelson. And we're going to hit on a little bit more some of these points. You know, especially most of us in our businesses are trying to grow the business. We're trying to find new customers, and this point number 4 of ultimately increasing our search engine optimization through our website. We'll come back to that a little bit more as we go forward. One item I did want to emphasize before we go any further is this, and that's the idea of social media is the best way today to promote platform. Think years ago, you know, back when I was in college or my first 10 years of my career, you know, the social media, there's nothing like this. If we wanted to promote content, we had to get published, you know, or we had to use direct mail campaigns. I mean, think about what it was 15, 20 years ago. Today, our companies, regardless of our organization, there's probably some content about how well we're doing, how fast we're growing, how well we're serving our clients, our markets, humanity, whatever it is. We need to promote our content, and this gives us that platform. So it's a real-time way to distribute content. And as Nelson mentioned, you know, our stories. Share user and customer success. Again, it's the very best platform for storytelling, letting the world know what we do. And if we put out good content, it can go viral very, very quickly. Now, let me just caveat, the opposite is true too. And this is what we are seeing in the news so often now, is what people are claiming as not good content that goes viral very quickly. So creating that filter so that we know what we're putting out there is valid, true, accurate, and compelling, and that it will never be viewed as negative. Nelson, I'm going to turn to you again as really a practitioner and someone who's teaching about this, every day. We kind of, some people wanted to know in their questioning, how can we actually apply social media? So we broke this into two categories. How can we apply it internal in our companies, and how can it be an external application? Would you please go through these for us?
Of course, Brad. Thank you. So in terms of internal application, we listed a few of them. The first one is recruiting. Most of the recruiting, like it says there, starts online nowadays. In today's world, your online presence as an individual is as important as for us as brands or businesses to have a presence online. So recruitment, business development in the same way, it starts online, and your employees can represent you later, so you want to see their brands and how they work. Internal communication is very important. Communicating with people where people are at is always good, and social media allows you to do that. The next one is employee engagement and satisfaction. There is many ways in which you can engage with your employees through the use of social media. It actually adds a lot of transparency to those that are looking at your brand. And there are many companies, I would mention Zappos, for example. There are some companies that are really, really good at this. You can research them later. The next one is education and learning. LinkedIn recently acquired lynda.com, and that's one example of how some of these social media platforms, depending on their emphasis, can be used in terms of education for those of your employees that are using that platform. The next one is research, and of course, social media is full of thought leaders and people that are experts in different areas, researching, not only in terms of researching for knowledge, but also in researching specific industries and areas of expertise is very important. And lastly, competitive intelligence and assessment. Social media can give you an open window to competitors and potential clients too. So if you're trying to earn a contract with a specific organization, there is an open window there where you can really research who is engaging with them, what their tone is, and how you might want to approach them. So it's really good in terms of competitive analysis and intelligence. Now, let's move on to external applications. There are several of those too, and we'll start with positioning for future work. So brand management, or the public view or the perception that there is of your brand, starts in many ways with social media. So your brand, you should be aware of what is being said out there about your brand and how you can control that conversation. The next one is providing evidence and success stories. As we mentioned before, this is a good place to create a portfolio, an online portfolio of the things that you have been doing. And once you put them there, they stay. And sometimes there is the potential of virality that they can just kind of start running by themselves, by people sharing them. The next one is establishing relationships, right? So more personal connections where users are at. Instead of you just blasting communications, there is the opportunity of them responding back to you. I want to mention, and we'll talk more about specific platforms, but LinkedIn is especially great tool when you're trying to find people that are professional decision makers in a specific industry. The next one is networking and connecting with specific people. Titles, job descriptions, all of those are often available on social media. So you can make very direct and quick connections with people that would be really, really hard to do or to create a connection with face-to-face. You can really, really have a strong and quick expansion of your network. The next one is advertising or promotions. Events, of course, extremely important. So anything that you want to promote and put out, you can do on social media. Websites like Facebook do a really good job on this, where you can actually pay for advertisement. It's really low cost, and you can get it to a lot of people. But you can advertise and promote very specifically and very targeted, in a very targeted form, using social media. They know a lot about us, and so you can really, and it's all over the news lately, right? They know a lot about us, so you can use that as an advertiser to get to a very specific audience. And of course, thought leadership. You want to be an expert on the field that you represent, and so you can become an expert through the use of social media, Twitter, LinkedIn. Those are great platforms for that. And we'll talk more about that.
Great. Thanks, Nelson. I especially wanted to go back and just comment on a couple things. Some might be wondering what recruiting has to do with business development. Well, it has everything to do with business development, because a lot of us are selling talent. We're selling the qualifications of our key personnel, or there's a gap in our solution and we need to go hire a certain type of engineer or solutions architect, whatever it is. And so the effective use of social media to recruit key personnel and or teaming partners is really, really a valuable tool. So as we mentioned before, and Nelson alluded to some of the core social media platforms, it all comes together though in a hub, and that becomes our corporate website. So if we're out there posting blogs, if we're leveraging LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Yammer, whatever it happens to be, ultimately, the more links in and out of our website, as Nelson mentioned earlier, the better our search engine optimization, the more likely customers are going to be to finding us. Let's see, Mallory, we have a question. I'm going to pause here and we'll read it and try and address it.
Okay, so I'll just summarize it
really quickly
for you, because it's a long question. So basically, the gist of the question is asking, are contracting officers really researching through social media before making a procurement decision? What are your thoughts?
I think absolutely yes. I think, in fact, I know for a fact that in many agencies, contracting officers are using social media, of course, websites, to identify potential companies to which to send like an RFI. I mean, they're not just depending on Chamber of Commerce lists or, past, contractors that have supported them in the past. So absolutely. In fact, a little bit, in just a few minutes, I'm going to pull up a screenshot from the GSA website. And if you want to be intrigued, go to the gsa.gov website and go search for their digital strategy, and you'll find, I'll show it here. So I won't talk more about that, but the answer is yes. Are they using social media to actually influence their decision once proposals have been submitted in the evaluation process? Doubtful. Usually the communication in government is shut down at that point. But early on in the solicitation, the acquisition process, the government contracting officers are certainly using social media. Are there cautions? Are they being cautioned? Yeah. Are some of them scared to use it? Yes. Have all of them been trained to use it? No. So it's an evolution. We've talked about in some past webinars about the Better Buying Power initiative. Read into that, and you'll find all kinds of references to the do's and don'ts on the government contracting officer side of social media. Great question. Thank you for that. All right, another question that came in. This was when you registered. What are the best platforms and types of posts to reach or gain the attention of potential customers? Great question. Other questions, and we're going to answer these kind of in a group because they're very, very similar. What are some strategies for increasing brand engagement with customers on social media? All right, we'll address that here in a second. How do you pick the most appropriate social media? Great question. How do you determine which social media platforms are right for your company? Another great question, and we could spend 3 hours on that one, but we won't. So let's try to address some of these questions. Again, similar in nature, right? What's the best way to leverage LinkedIn company pages? Should my messages vary per channel? In other words, if we're tweeting, should my message be different than it is maybe on LinkedIn? Well, of course, Twitter limits us, right, Mallory?
Yes.
I use Twitter on a very limited basis. So, you know, that platform limits us just by the fact that you can only post so much. So great questions. And we're going to try and focus what we talk about on those, responding to those questions. Nelson, we've discussed and you kind of helped us shape this idea of 7 success pillars of a digital strategy, because a lot of these questions kept coming back to what's the best platform? Should my messaging be the same on every platform? What's best for me, and that kind of thing. So would you run through these 7 and kind of relate those to those questions we just read?
Yes, of course. So we have divided this in 2 slides. One of them will address the strategy, and the other one will talk more about the specific platforms, who their target audience is, or who their existing audience is, and then how you can leverage that. So let's start with the success pillars of a digital strategy. Number 1 is know what your company needs: exposure, leads, reputation, validation, sales, or awareness. So in any strategy, the first step is knowing what your goals and objectives are. Okay, I have done consulting and projects for big organizations that were doing what the next person or the next company over was doing. They were imitating their strategy, and it worked really well for them, so it should work for me. Well, if you don't know what the goals and objectives were for that strategy, then you're just shooting from the hip and just not aiming correctly, right? You're gonna hit something, but it might not be what you wanted. Sorry, Brad.
That's a great point.
So marketing, your marketing goals and objectives are number 1. The next one is know who you are trying to reach and with what message. So knowing and understanding your target audience, where does this audience live in terms of social media use, and the message that resonates with that audience in that platform that they're using is very, very important. So communication in LinkedIn, which is a professional network, has to be very different than communication on Instagram, which is a more, you know, just more entertainment kind of network. So yes, your message should be different. You should be communicating in the way that is appropriate in that room, right? Number 3 is be realistic about your internal capability to execute a strategy. So social media marketing takes time, and you need to be, one caveat of social media is you need to be responsive. When you have a platform and someone sends you, for example, a direct message, you need to respond quickly. If you don't, then you're going to disappoint your audience. You need to be current too. So we'll talk more about how that differs from platform to platform, but it takes time, and you have to be realistic with how much you want to cover, because you don't want to take too much. Next one is be consistent with your brand. You need to be authentic. It needs to represent who you truly are. And this is a big thing on social media. You really need to be authentic. So you have to be consistent with your brand. You can't look playful if that's not who you are, right? And in terms of brands, I mean, there is a need, especially working with government, there is a need of professionalism too. I know you'll have some of those social media managers that will come to you and say, we got to be playful, but really you have to control your message and how you want to be perceived. Number 5 is determine your metrics. So what is your expected return on investment? How are you going to assess if the efforts that you have been putting on social media are worthwhile? So if you don't have a clear idea of what those metrics are, then you're going to be just spinning wheels in some cases and not knowing if anything is being accomplished. There is several tools nowadays, social listening tools and keyword monitoring tools. There are from free, like socialmention.com, to paid, like Newbie, but there's different tools that you can use that will help you track the success of the work you're doing on social media. Next one is staying current and relevant. So social voice moves very quickly. I don't know, I'm gonna throw something there, but maybe some of you have seen the Walmart yodeling kid. So that came out, it was a big popular thing maybe a week and a half ago, and last week Walmart was already responded to it, given to this yodeling kid that was singing in one of their stores that became viral, a scholarship to go study and something. So they took a really good PR opportunity for them of things happening and happening right now on social media. So you have to be paying attention. And last thing is leverage multiple platforms. There is really not a one-size-fits-all. You got to focus on the ones where your target audience spends most of the time at, and you have to communicate how they expect. That's for this slide. On the next slide, we will actually talk more about common platforms, starting with LinkedIn. The reason why we start with LinkedIn is because I believe this is the platform where you can be most successful on your approach on creating business development, right? Or business development activities for your industry. LinkedIn, like we mentioned here, is excellent for organizations and individuals. It has add-ons available, right? You can put Sales Navigator, recruitment tools, social slide share. So there is a lot of things that you can do there. Right now, LinkedIn has 500 million active users. 106 million of those are monthly active. But it's not just any user, these are professional users. They claim that 50 million of these are actual decision makers. And the demographics are fairly evenly distributed between different age groups. 45% of users have an income of $75,000 or more, meaning these are people that are actual professionals taking decisions, like they're saying. The data is fairly accurate. It's believed that it's fairly accurate because it's entered and updated by the users themselves. If you have a LinkedIn profile, you probably have put your resume, you have put all the positions that you had before, you have all these keywords representing the areas of expertise that you have. So it's very, very accurate in terms of targeting a specific audience. It also offers the ability of organizations to create company pages. So you can create a company profile. Users can follow that company. Employees can say that they work for you. So other users can see the reach and the expertise that your company has. You can publish and share content to that audience. You can promote your brand with customers and potential employees even. And then the advertising, it can be very targeted. You can use job titles, industry, income levels, years of experience, and much more. The great thing about LinkedIn is that you can direct message anyone you really want. If you're willing to pay, you can talk to the CEO of a company or the person that you believe will be the decision maker for a contract. You can directly talk to them, and that's a really powerful opportunity that you have with LinkedIn. My recommendations for that platform is that you keep it professional. This is a platform where you want to share content that is appropriate for an audience looking for professional development, thought leadership. That's the people that are there, and it's not a place for playful, I would say, right? It's much more professional. and have a company page. You definitely want to have a place there where you can control your brand and your messaging. Now, let's move on to Twitter. As we say, it's an excellent way to convey real-time information. It's good for customer and competitor intelligence. Twitter right now has 330 million monthly active users, and it has a very global audience. It's no longer one of the leading platforms for individual users, but still popular. It's very popular with public figures, industry experts, and companies. And as you know, it's always in the news. So my recommendations for that platform are that you respond quickly to mentions and direct messages. It's one platform where you have to be on top of that. You want to post regularly, and this is one place where you can really position yourself as a thought industry leader using, and my recommendation, big recommendation here, using hashtags. So if you use the specific hashtags for that industry, you're going to start attracting people that are looking for that thought leadership on that specific subject matter, okay? The next one is Facebook. Facebook, of course, all over the news nowadays, 2 billion monthly users, by far the most active platform. 51% of those people are accessing several times a day. And 23% says they access it 23% of them about once a day. So that's an incredible reach. They definitely get everywhere. More than 53% of U.S. residents use this platform several times a day. And so this is one platform where advertising tools are very, very advanced. If you want to hit a specific target audience, you can target them very accurately by age, gender, personal preferences, associations, right? So if they have people that they work or they relate with that have specific preferences, they get related, and they collect much data about us, so you're able to target very well. They have a very mature advertising platform. And the cost-wise, it comes down to be a lot cheaper than any other type of advertisement because of the specificity of the targeting, of how specific you can go to users. My recommendation is definitely that you have a company page, a representation, just like having a website. Now having a Facebook page is just a must. People have to do it. But again, you wanna be careful because you gotta respond quickly to mentions and direct messages. That's what the users expect. So you need to be able to put the time on that. And then lastly is Instagram. Instagram has 800 million monthly active users, 59 of which are between the ages of 18 and 29. 33% of them are between the ages of 30 and 49 years old. So they are growing rapidly. They're owned, if you didn't know this, they are owned by Facebook. So they have the same abilities in terms of advertising that Facebook has, but it's definitely a younger audience. They're image driven. They use short messaging, and they're heavy in the use of hashtags. As a company, you can also have a presence there. Again, this is more on the representing who you are in the more creative, in a more creative way than you do on the others. In the others, you can be a little bit more professional. You should be a little bit more professional, but in Instagram, you can represent your organization in a more creative way. Photography is the way you communicate there. So those are the 4 platforms that were recommended, and hopefully the information I gave you now provides an idea of how to use those platforms for your business development efforts.
Nelson, that was a fantastic overview of the primary 4 that as organizations we need to be paying attention to, thinking about, investing in. And boy, you covered some of the pros and cons as well. I mean, I just, one quick comment from me on LinkedIn. You know, sometimes we have to, at Shipley, we have to recruit, and we have to recruit internationally. And there's no way without having a physical presence in certain countries that we could reach people or candidates. And LinkedIn gives us that ability. And so take what Nelson said seriously, and do your homework, dig into a little deeper. Want to quickly advance through addressing some more of your questions that you submitted. What seems to be the most successful social media outlet in the federal marketplace, and why? That's a great question. I think Nelson kind of answered that with really the most common is LinkedIn these days, but those other three are certainly important. Some other questions. Are government-focused businesses seeing social media generate demand or improve win probability? Any metrics? We'll discuss that here in just a second. Which social media platform is best beneficial? Nelson covered it fantastic. All of them, but to different extents. Which is most beneficial? I hate to use the word it depends, but it depends, on going back to what Nelson said. What's your goal? What are your objectives? Is it just to gain visibility? Then it's probably one platform. If it's to actually try to generate sales leads for your company, it might be a different platform. So go back, what are your objectives, and then determine the best platform. What's the appropriate digital media strategy to reach non-DoD federal clients? So non-Department of Defense clients, same as any government agency, really, including the DoD. They're all important. I side with Nelson in thinking LinkedIn, a quality website, are crucial. If you really want to now, from the business development point of view, on the competitive side, right? We're trying to track competitors. Twitter is amazing. If I'm also trying to track my customers, I want to know what's in the news at ABC company, I'll follow them on Twitter, and I know day to day what's going on. So there's no right or wrong answer here. It's a matter of doing your homework and really studying. So I mentioned GSA. I spent some time on several federal government sites, wanting to know more than just secondhand information or my personal firsthand, what's going on with digital strategies in the federal government. Well, here's GSA. You can go find it yourself. Search for their digital strategy, and here it is. They have three main goals within their agency for their digital strategy: enable the American people and an increasingly mobile workforce to access high-quality digital government information from anywhere, anytime, on any device. This is the GSA speaking. Point number 2, ensure that as the government adjusts to its new digital world, we seize the opportunity to procure and manage devices, applications, and data in smart, secure, and affordable ways. So are they looking at digital media or social media as a way to maybe be more cost effective, maybe run procurements more affordably? Of course. And then finally, unlock the power of government data to spur innovation across our nation and improve the quality of services for the American people. So this isn't me speaking. This is one government agency speaking. Here was an article we found that, look at the title, Winning Social Media Strategies by Government Contractors. I'll just read that first line. We all know that social media and government contracting sector has grown tremendously in the last 4 to 5 years, influencing the right decision makers. That's part of the game. That's part of the value of social media in business development. We can influence, we can reach, we can contact others. So very, very important. And then look at this next to last sentence here. Strategic use of social media comes down to providing compelling content and engaging with key influencers and decision makers who can enhance business growth. So many of you wanted to know, is it effective in the government contractor world? Yes, it is. And it's growing more and more important. And did we say you need to know your customer? If we didn't, I'm pretty sure we said it 5 times, but once more, the key is know your customer. Why are you doing this social media posting? Why are you doing it? What are you trying to accomplish? One question that came from more than one of you, how do you measure your return on investment? This is where it becomes very difficult. And there's nothing we could say or coach you on in this webinar that would make this that much easier. But let us just give you a few thoughts. If you want to determine the return, you've got to understand what it is. Back to Nelson's comment, what are you trying to accomplish? What do you want to measure? Is it bottom line revenue? Are you trying to spend a little less in your marketing dollars, so you want to use social media? Is it you need to improve customer engagement, reach more people more often with more relevant? Is it about strengthening your brand? Once again, Nelson already said this, but once you know that, now you can start thinking about what kind of return on investment. So once our goals or business goals are identified, we can establish key performance metrics. So what type of metrics? Could be customer engagement. You know, how many Twitter followers do we have? Is it growing? Are we getting more each week, each month? Number of retweets. If our company is tweeting out a tweet a day, 2 tweets a week, whatever it is, how many of those are being retweeted and going a little bit more viral to get more mentions of our company? The number of followers on LinkedIn. How many companies or individuals, potential customers are paying attention to us and even care? And is it growing or decreasing? The number of times people respond to something you share or post. Website analytics. Large or small companies, there are some awesome tools that Nelson has alluded to help us at least do the basic analytics of our website. How many visitors a day, an hour? What time of day are they coming to our website? What pages are they going to most frequently? Once we know that, boy, we say, oh, our website is attracting people to this particular service or that particular service or this product or that product. How many return visitors versus first-time visitors? How long are they staying on our website? Is there enough compelling content to keep them there and keep them engaged? How many referral links are we getting to our website? Do we have other companies, organizations, associations, affiliations, or employee LinkedIn pages or sites linking back to our company page? The number of referrals coming to our website is vital. It's a critical metric of how effective we are. So this is just a very simple graphic. See the orange box on the left? That's some kind of content we put out there. Our company puts out there. Might be a blog, might be an article, might be a visual, might be a success story, a case study, a product description. We put content out there, and if there's no social media promotion, like we see here, we're going to get some inbound traffic just out of the curiosity seekers. People will come and look at our site. But once we engage social media and do it well, and we're now getting visitors from all these different sources, from our tweets, our Facebook page, our LinkedIn pages, from our employees, our inbound traffic goes up exponentially. The number of searches that end up on our page goes up. Visibility improves. This gets to the heart of business development, those early phases we talked about, where we're trying to do long-term positioning. All right, I'd like to kind of conclude on this. One of you, at least one of you asked, what are some of the do's and don'ts of social media, LinkedIn or other platforms in business development? We've already covered many of this, so this is kind of a review. Take it seriously, clear objectives. We need a policy. Your company needs a digital strategy policy so your employees know what they should and should not be posting. That's where a lot of companies fail, by the way, is they do this ad hoc, and then employees get in trouble or get the company in trouble. Do your homework, those 7 pillars Nelson talked about. Nelson mentioned keeping it current, make it relevant, keep an eye on others, see what others are doing, and adapt it. Adapt that to your use. What shouldn't you do? Don't rely on one single platform. Use multiples. Don't overstep your customers' boundaries. This gets to the question one of you typed in earlier about contracting officers. If you're dealing with a contract officer in an agency that prefers no social media contact, boy, don't do it. They'll let you know real quick whether that's out of bounds or not. So know your boundaries. Don't expect overnight success. Vary the way you target different markets. Don't underestimate the power of your message going viral, because it can, and it can be very effective. You've got to be quick to adapt. Don't be afraid to change. If you try something on LinkedIn and it doesn't work the first time, tweak it and try it again. Business development is about evolving and changing and adapting. So why do companies fail? Again, we've kind of gone over this. There's no value in their message or content. They're just putting stuff up there or out there. And there's really no value to anybody. They're not learning anything. They're not gaining anything. Or the platform doesn't align with the objective. They're trying to increase revenues. Well, there's nothing in their digital strategy that leads them to increase revenue. So it's not aligned, and it's not kept current and managed. This is a big one. It's not a one and done. You don't create a digital strategy, launch it, and you're done. It constantly has to be kept up to date, as Nelson said. So let me just summarize. And again, we really appreciate you spending this time with us today. We have to be willing to develop a strategy. We can't just fly by the seat of our pants anymore. It doesn't cut it today. And Nelson, thank you for making that very clear. We need to research, observe, and model what's working. Be flexible. Don't wait. Wherever your business is at, whatever stage you're at, you should be starting something. Know your customer again, of course. Leverage social media. Use it as a touch point. That's how we build relationships today in our business development communities and profession. Is we establish touch points that matter to customers or potential customers. We use multiple platforms. And bottom line is I would add not only knowledge is power, but knowledge and content are power. The better our content, the more current, the more relevant, it's powerful. The more we know about competitors, our industry, our market, our customers, it gives us a better opportunity to actually win business. So someone asked, is there some kind of metric or measure that our win rates actually go up or we actually win more business by effective use of social media? I couldn't find a hard statistic where there's been a pre and post study side by side of social media application and not in a business, parallel business. So I can't give you that figure, but anecdotally, the fact that we get to work with literally hundreds of companies every year across the globe, I can assure you that a smart, well thought out, well executed social media strategy will have a positive impact on your business. There is no doubt. And so we encourage you to go forward and do that. These are a few of the references we've gleaned some of this information from. Just for your information, there's a social media marketing workbook out there. There's a book I love personally. It's been out for a few years, but I still love it. It's called Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath, a couple of brothers from Stanford. Winning at social customer care was another source that we looked at. And, we would encourage you to follow us on social media. Are we complete experts at it? Absolutely not. Can we improve? We sure can. But we are trying like everybody else. We're trying to have a presence. We're trying to be relevant. We're trying to be thought leaders in our business. And so, we invite you to follow us and help us get better. Mitch, I think there really aren't a lot of questions lingering. We've used our time. Thank you so much for those of you that submitted questions in advance. That really helped us shape and make this hopefully relevant for all of you. Nelson, just want a last comment before we sign off here?
Yeah, well, I think that we covered it very thoroughly. I think that in my 15 plus years of digital marketing expertise and especially social media marketing, having those 7 pillars, just going through that process is extremely important. Understanding your objectives and your audience and where they're at is extremely important. I hope that you also keep an eye on what's happening out there. There is some brands all the time making mistakes on social media, and there's good things to learn of those cases. So just keep an eye and an ear on what is happening nowadays in social media, because that's the way marketing is more and more happening today. And I teach in one of the first, or I head the program for one of the first schools teaching a social media marketing degree in the nation, and I am amazed of the students that we get, because these are people that have been 20 plus years sometimes in marketing roles, and they're coming back to just study what's happening on social media, because it's becoming a really, really important part of your brand management efforts. So yeah, keep an eye on it. Don't let it sit.
Great point. Okay, well, everyone, thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day and week, and we hope you'll join us for our next webinar in a few weeks. Take care, everyone. Thank you.